He hired her to be his fake girlfriend. But someone else was willing to kill for real. Ravenbrook was quieter than she expected. A town tucked behind old pine trees and washed-out billboards. The kind of place where time moved differently, where people still noticed a stranger's car. Selena parked near the edge of the road, the asphalt cracked and shining under a gray sky. This was where it had happened, 2 years ago, the curve that never quite straightened, the place that haunted Damian's eyes. She stepped out slowly, the air damp and cool, the smell of wet earth rising around her. She followed the skid marks that still faintly scarred the pavement, ending at a dented guardrail, the metal bent outward. Beside it stood a small wooden cross, the flowers around it wilted but still there. Someone had cared once, someone still did. She crouched down, tracing the dirt with her fingers, and noticed a tiny fragment of glass glinting near the weeds. It wasn't new, but not as old as 2 years either, maybe from a mirror or a camera lens. Something about the angle of the bend, the position of the damage, didn't match Damian's story. If he'd been the driver, the impact would have hit the other side. Her mind ran back to his words. I saw the woman's face in the headlights. But the debris told another story. The strike came from behind, just like the article said. She took a slow breath, her pulse steady now, every clue whispering that Damian's memory wasn't his own. A voice startled her from behind. You looking for something, miss? An older man leaned on a shovel near the ditch. She smiled politely, hiding her nerves. Just passing through, I read about the accident that happened here. He nodded, wiping his brow. Sad thing that night, rained so hard you could barely see, but it wasn't the fella driving's fault. I told the cops that. Selena's head tilted. You saw it? Not the crash itself, but the minutes after, he said, squinting toward the bend. I ran up when I heard the noise, saw a woman in the driver's seat trying to pull a man out. He was half conscious, she was bleeding, yelling at him to wake up, said she had to move him. I told her to stay put, but she didn't listen. Selena's breath caught. A woman, she repeated. Dark hair. Yeah, he said slowly. Looked fancy too, didn't seem scared, more angry than anything. Then the sirens came and she told me to forget what I saw, and for a while I did. He gave a short laugh. Funny how memory works. Selena thanked him quietly, her heart thudding as she returned to her car, the words echoing, a woman in the driver's seat. Back in the car she sat for a long moment, rain streaking across the windshield, her fingers tracing circles on the steering wheel, every part of her body buzzing with the weight of what she just heard. If that old man was right, then Damian hadn't been driving at all. He'd been pulled out, moved, rewritten. Selena put the car in drive, the road ahead slick and narrow. Her hand steady now, she wasn't stopping, not until the truth was hers. By the time Selena got back to the city, the rain had turned to mist, the kind that blurred everything just enough to make the world feel unreal. She parked outside her apartment and sat for a while, letting the engine hum fill the silence. Inside, she pulled up everything she'd found so far, the reports, the names, the photos, the timelines, but there was something missing, the one piece that tied it all together. Her eyes drifted to the corner of the screen, to a storage receipt Damian had mentioned without thinking, a small note in an old email, a unit registered under a fake business name, TM Logistics, the same initials she'd seen on the insurance claim. An hour later she was standing in front of a row of metal doors, her heart pounding in the quiet, the air thick with dust and oil. She used the spare key she'd found tucked behind Damian's car manual, the lock clicking open like it had been waiting. Inside, under a canvas tarp, sat a box labeled Car Accessories 2022. Her fingers trembled as she lifted the lid, old air rushing out, the smell of burnt plastic and rain. Inside were fragments of glass, a dented mirror, and a small black dashcam, cracked but still intact. She stared at it for a long moment before slipping the memory card into her laptop. The screen flickered, static and muffled sound, then headlights, rain, blurred voices. Damian's voice came first, soft, confused. Tiana, slow down, then her voice, sharp, controlled. You've had too much, just sit back. The camera shook violently, a flash of light, the sound of metal twisting, glass shattering, then silence, a low groan, and the faint sound of someone moving. The camera angle shifted, the lens catching a reflection. Tiana's face, wild and desperate, blood on her forehead, eyes wide. Switch seats, she hissed, her voice low and fierce. They'll never believe me, just stay quiet. Selena's heart stopped, she couldn't look away. The video ended with a hand reaching toward the camera, then darkness. She leaned back, breathing hard, her hands trembling against the laptop, every piece of the story snapping into place. Damian hadn't been the driver, it was Tiana. She'd switched their positions, fed him the story until even he believed it. For 2 years, he'd carried a guilt that wasn't his, while she'd used it to chain him to her. Selena copied the file onto a drive, then another, and another, her movements sharp and sure. She wasn't just protecting proof now, she was protecting him. She whispered under her breath, steady and certain, "You can't hide anymore, Tiana." Back at her apartment, Selena's heart pounded as she pieced the fragments together. The police report, the newspaper clippings, the old man's statement, and the blurry dashcam footage she'd found in a storage unit under Tiana's name. 4 years, Damian had been haunted by guilt over that night years ago, the night that had ended a woman's life, the night he swore he was behind the wheel. Tiana had convinced him of it, her voice soft and poisonous, whispering that he was drunk, that he didn't remember clearly, that she was only protecting him. But now Selena knew the truth. Tiana had been the one driving. Damian had been in the passenger seat, barely conscious. She had swerved into the road, hit a woman, panicked, and switched their seats before the police arrived. She had told him he was the one who drove, planting that lie so deeply that he'd carried it like a wound for years. Selena's hands trembled as she held the evidence, the truth burning like fire in her chest. That evening, she called Damian on video call, her voice shaking. "I know what happened that night, Damian, it wasn't you." He froze, the weight of years lifting and crushing him at the same time. "Selena, what do you mean?" "Tiana was driving," she said softly. "She framed you, she's been controlling you all this time, using your guilt to keep you by her side." For a moment, Damian couldn't speak, his breath shallow, eyes glistening with shock and disbelief. She told me I was the one, I thought." "She lied," Selena interrupted gently. "And she's been using that lie to blackmail you, to keep you trapped in her game." Damian's expression hardened, his guilt transforming into resolve. "Then it ends tonight," he said quietly, his voice calm but full of fire. Selena didn't sleep that night. The image from the dashcam looped in her head like a nightmare she couldn't wake from. By morning, she knew what she had to do. She couldn't hide. Not anymore. She had to make Tiana believe she was done fighting. She picked up her phone and typed slowly, fingers trembling but steady enough. "You win, Tiana. Let's talk. Just us." The reply came within minutes. "Willow Lane. Tonight. 9 o'clock. Come alone." Selena's throat tightened. The name of that place had been haunting her since the beginning. The house where everything started, the one Tiana had once shared with Damian. By the time darkness fell, she was already driving down that narrow road, the trees leaning close like they were listening, rain misting the windshield. Her heart beat loud in the silence. She parked outside the house, every light off except one upstairs, the faint golden glow flickering behind lace curtains. She could almost feel Tiana's eyes watching her from there. Inside, the air was thick, old perfume and dust. "Tiana," Selena called softly, her voice echoing. "I came, just like you wanted." From the shadows of the staircase, Tiana appeared, her face pale but her eyes sharp. She wore black again, elegant and cold, her movements graceful, too calm. "I knew you'd come," Tiana said quietly, stepping closer. "You're smarter than you look, Selena, but not as smart as you think." Selena forced a weak smile, lowering her eyes. "You were right about me," she said. "I shouldn't have interfered. Damian belongs to you. I see that now." Tiana's lips curved slightly. "Do you?" Selena nodded, her voice trembling just enough to sound believable. "I do, I didn't want to lose him, but you've already won. He'll never look at me the way he looks at you." For a second, Tiana's expression softened, her ego feeding on the words. "He loved me first," she murmured. "He'll love me last." Selena swallowed hard, glancing around as if afraid. "Can I give you something?" she asked, her voice low. "Something to prove I mean it." Tiana tilted her head, suspicious but curious. "What is it?" Selena reached slowly into her bag, pulling out a small flash drive, holding it between her fingers. "The video of what happened that night," she whispered, and Tiana froze. "I deleted the copies. This is the last one. I thought if I gave it back, maybe we could end this." Tiana's eyes darkened. She stepped forward, her heels silent on the wooden floor. "Put it on the table," she said. Selena obeyed, setting the flash drive down gently. her pulse quickening, every nerve screaming to run, but she stayed still. Tiana picked it up, twirling it between her fingers. "Do you really think this changes anything?" she asked softly. "He'll still remember it my way." Selena met her eyes, her voice quiet but steady. "He already knows, Tiana, he remembers enough." Tiana froze again, her expression flickering. "You're lying." "I'm not," Selena said, her tone firm now, the act slipping away. "He came to me last night. He told me everything, how you made him believe he was guilty, how you've been controlling him, but it's over now." Tiana's face went blank, the calm before the storm, the flash drive trembling in her hand. "You stupid, naive little girl," she whispered. "You think you can just walk into my life and take what's mine?" Her voice cracked, tears burning at the corners of her eyes. "I saved him that night, I fixed it, I cleaned it all up, and he still left me." Selena took a step back, her heart pounding. "You didn't save him, Tiana, you ruined him, and you're still trying to." For a moment, Tiana looked almost human, broken, her lips trembling. "He loved me once," she said, voice small. "He said I made him feel alive." Selena shook her head gently. "No, you made him afraid." Something snapped then, the softness drained from Tiana's face, replaced by pure fury. She hurled the flash drive against the wall, shattering it, and dug into her handbag, pulling out a gun, sleek and black. Selena stumbled back, clutching her handbag tightly. Inside it, the real drive, the one she hadn't given Tiana, stayed hidden. Tiana's pointed the gun at her. "You're not walking out of here," she hissed, her voice shaking. "Not with him, not with my story." Selena stood still, breath catching, her heart wild, but she didn't scream, not yet. And in that moment, somewhere outside, a car door slammed, footsteps rushing through the rain. Tiana's grip tightened around the gun. "You brought him!" Selena didn't answer, her pulse roaring in her ears. The sound of the front door bursting open drowned out everything else. "Selena!" Damian's voice thundered through the house, echoing off the walls, the sound of rain crashing against the windows. Tiana spun around fast, the gun still pointed at Selena. Her hands trembling but her aim steady. "Don't move!" she screamed, her voice breaking. "Don't you dare come any closer!" Selena froze, her pulse hammering in her ears. Damian stood in the doorway, chest heaving, rainwater dripping from his hair, his eyes locked on the gun in Tiana's hands. "Tiana, put it down," he said, his voice low, calm but sharp, the kind of calm that came from fear. "You don't want to do this." "Oh, don't I?" she spat, her laugh brittle and wild. "You took everything from me, Damian, everything, and now you think you can just walk away with her?" She gestured at Selena, her hand shaking. "I didn't take anything," he said softly, stepping forward an inch. "You did this to yourself." "Stop!" she screamed, her finger tightening on the trigger. "Don't come any closer." Selena's breath hitched. She could see the madness in Tiana's eyes, the grief, the fury, the heartbreak. It wasn't just hate anymore, it was desperation. "You don't understand," Tiana said, her voice trembling. "He was mine until you came along with your soft voice and your perfect little lies. I saved him that night, I kept him free, and he betrayed me for you." Damian shook his head slowly. "You didn't save me, Tiana, you trapped me, you made me believe I was a monster." "I was protecting you," she shouted. "You were drunk, you could barely see the road, I was doing what I had to." Selena cut in quietly. "You were the one driving." The words hung in the air like smoke. Tiana's hand faltered, her eyes darting between them. "No," she whispered. "No, that's not true." "I saw the dashcam, remember?" Selena said softly. "I know everything." Something shattered inside Tiana then, her face crumpling, her voice breaking into a raw, jagged cry. "You don't get to take him from me," she screamed, raising the gun again. Time slowed. Selena's heart pounded so loud she could hear nothing else. Tiana's finger curled around the trigger, and then a crash. Damian lunged forward, grabbing her wrist. The gun fired, the sound deafening, a spark bursting against the wall. Selena dropped to the floor, her hands over her ears. Damian wrestled the gun from Tiana's grip. "Stop!" Damian shouted, his voice raw. "It's over, Tiana!" She screamed again, thrashing, clawing at him, tears and rain streaking down her face. "You said you loved me," she cried. "I did," he said, his breath ragged. "And that's why I can't let you destroy yourself any more." The gun clattered to the floor, sliding toward Selena's feet. She kicked it away, her body trembling. Tiana sank to her knees, sobbing, her hands covering her face, the sound of sirens growing louder outside. Damian stepped back, breathing hard, his eyes heavy with grief, his gaze fixed on Tiana as the police burst in, weapons raised, the chaos flooding the room. Tiana didn't resist, she just lifted her head, her voice small, broken. "I only wanted him to remember me," she whispered, as the officers pulled her to her feet, her wrists bound in cold metal. Damian turned away, his face buried in his hands. Selena stepped to his side, her fingers brushing his arm, grounding him. When the room finally quieted, he looked at her, eyes wet, voice hoarse. "Are you okay? You could have died." She smiled faintly, a shaky, tired kind of smile. "So could you." For a long moment, they just stood there, surrounded by the wreckage of the night, the truth heavy but freeing between them. And as the lights flickered, Damian reached for her hand, holding it tight, his voice barely a whisper. "It's over now." Selena looked at him, her eyes soft. "No," she said quietly, "it's just beginning." Weeks passed, and the city softened again. The storms gave way to quiet mornings and silver skies. Damian's house no longer echoed with ghosts, the air lighter, almost kind. Selena came by often, at first to check on him, to make sure he was eating, sleeping, breathing, but somewhere in the quiet, her visits became something else, a routine neither of them could explain. He'd wait for her on the balcony some evenings. He'd just watch the road until her car appeared, that small smile tugging at the corner of his mouth every time. One night, they sat together by the fire, no words for a long time, just the crackle of flames and the faint hum of the city outside. Damian turned the small flash drive over in his hands. The real one, the proof that had set him free. He looked at her, eyes reflecting the firelight. "You could have walked away," he said quietly, "after everything you saw, everything I told you." Selena smiled softly. "And leave you alone with that guilt you never deserved," she said, shaking her head. "You needed someone to remind you who you really were." He stared at her for a long moment, his chest tightening. "You reminded me," he said, "and now I don't know what I'd be without you." She looked down, her voice barely a whisper. "Maybe you don't have to find out." He reached for her hand, fingers brushing hers gently, cautious at first, like touching something sacred. She didn't pull away. "I spent years being haunted by a lie," he said softly. "But when you came along, it was the first time I started to feel alive again." Her eyes met his, calm and steady. "Then don't waste it," she murmured. The air shifted between them, warm and fragile. He leaned closer, his voice low. "You saved me, Selena." She smiled, that small, knowing smile that always made him forget how to breathe. "We saved each other," she whispered. Outside, the city lights flickered like fireflies, the world finally still. He brushed his thumb against her cheek, slow and gentle, and for the first time, there was no fear in his touch, no ghosts between them. Their lips met softly, the kind of kiss that didn't rush, that spoke of everything they'd survived. Every scar and silence turned into something new, something alive. When they finally pulled away, Damian rested his forehead against hers, whispering, "Stay." Selena's answer was a quiet breath against his lips. "I wasn't planning on leaving." And for the first time in years, the house didn't feel empty, it felt like home. Because sometimes love didn't come from the perfect beginning, it came from surviving the worst and still choosing each other in the end. And as the night faded into morning, Damian and Selena sat together in the golden light, their hearts steady, their story no longer one of pain and lies, but of truth, forgiveness, and the kind of love that rises after the storm.